Hey, so quick bonus video now that we're in lockdown, and gonna briefly talk about something that's quite important to me. I don't know, to other people. I've often had comments, particularly more recently, about my attitude. How positive I am. I'm also playing with a new gimbal, so if the angles start randomly changing, don't take it personally. You didn't have a big night on the sauce last night necessarily. So yeah, attitude. I've got generally a pretty positive outlook on stuff. There's probably a few reasons for that if I look back and consider my life and stuff like that, and what's informed it, and more importantly, who's informed it. I guess most of what we get comes from our parents, so I was pretty fortunate in that department. And I guess the other thing that probably informed my outlook was the appreciation, which I didn't get until I was later in my teens, as to how sick I was as a child and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess it gives you a little bit of or certainly gave me a bit of a different perspective on life generally. But in my early 20s, I got another perspective, and this is something that I've carried and reflected upon many times since then, both with big challenges like the one I'm facing now, but also with just the general crap that sometimes you get given in life. Things you don't want to do at work, tough things you got to deal with. Life's full of shit sandwiches, and sometimes the best thing to do is just get as much of it into your gob as you can and swallow it, and then you can move on. So yeah, that little thing I just touched on. When I was at New Zealand Wines and Spirits, we went on a sales conference up to Otaki, live in Otaki somewhere, and it was a 2 or 3 day thing, bit of team building stuff, bit of sales and marketing stuff, bit of planning stuff, just all the usual kind of stuff that you get at those sorts of things, most of which was all good. But there was one presentation we got from, I think it was a couple, but it was particularly a woman whose name I've long since forgotten. Obviously at the time I didn't realise the impact that she was going to have on me and how I thought. And this woman started off this presentation and da-di-da-di-da, it's about facing fears and stuff like that. Oh yeah, no worries. And then she effectively removed her jaw and her nose, and it turned out she'd been in a pretty serious, well, obviously serious, life-threatening, I think it might have been a motorcycle accident, ironically, probably not what I should be sharing, but anyway, there we go, silver linings. And she'd obviously had quite the journey of recovery to get back to the stage where she was pretty much back to what she'd been previously, obviously with a few added pieces to her anatomy that she hitherto had owned herself. So yes, that was pretty confronting, seeing what she'd been through and seeing how she'd come back. But she shared a little formula with us that she uses, which is quite simple, which of course appeals to me because I'm all about the simple. And her little formula was E plus R equals O. I'm like, oh yeah, I can deal with that. That's all right, nice and short. And what that means is event plus reaction equals outcome, which is another way of saying shit happens. Events are going to happen, some good, some bad, some easy, some pretty bloody difficult. And they're going to happen whether we like it or not. That's just universe, life, the journey, whatever you want to call it. What we can control isn't obviously the events that are going to happen to us, like a COVID lockdown, for example, but we can control how we react. And how we choose to react in those moments, particularly the big, scary, hairy, shitty ass, negative, crappy events, is going to have an impact on what the outcome is for us. And not just for us, but for the people that matter to us, the people around us. So when those shitty events happen, it always kind of came into my mind just to take a moment and to consider how I'm going to react. And then obviously what the downstream impact of any of those likely reactions could be. Does that mean that you always react in the right way and you're always positive? And yeah, of course it doesn't. You know, shit is still shit, and hard is still hard, and crap is still crap. No matter what else you put on the sandwich. But that little simple equation has, I guess, really impacted how I approach things and look at them. And whilst sometimes you go for the immediate emotional negative reaction, and that's okay too, that's perfectly normal. I like to think I tend not to hang around in that space too long, because it doesn't really do any good for anybody. Not for me, not for my wife Mel, not for my dad and the rest of my family. There's really no winners. So at the end of the day, if there's an upside, if there's a silver lining, I'm going to do my best to try and find it. You might not see it immediately, and there'll be occasions when it isn't even there. And that leads me to another little technique I think I've learned. My car just went past, random. And that is kind of when faced with, I guess, difficult periods. You're in for a shit couple of months, or month, or 6 months, or whatever. I tend to look back to help me look forward. And what I mean by that is I'll put myself back to where I was 3 months ago. So for example, when I had the lung removed, and they were talking about a 2 to 3 month recovery and all that sort of stuff, I thought, okay, what was I doing 3 months ago? 3 months ago, da 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 da. And it seems like it was only yesterday. In the scheme of life, it's not really that long. So that kind of technique or thinking helped me deal with some of those periods where you thought, okay, here comes another shit sandwich. It's a bit of a big dog. It's going to take some getting through. But you get through it. You do your best. Sometimes you don't get through all of it. Sometimes you leave a little bit of a residual aftertaste, and sometimes the sandwich is nowhere near as bad as what you think it's going to be. And you might find someone put some hundreds and thousands or something on there, and there's even some good bits. But yeah, so that's my little spiel on attitude. Bit of a wee bonus vlog while we're in lockdown. Can't really do much aside from work, which is for me really good to have. We got evicted from our building about 5 or 6 weeks ago, so the whole working from home thing has been pretty easy anyway. And obviously under the current circumstances, it's worked out quite well. So yeah, so there you have it, on another sunny day in the heart. Who knew, eh? But yeah, give me feedback. Let me know what's worked for you, what hasn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that things that people on YouTube keep telling us we have to do. I don't quite know why either. It's not like anyone's getting rich. But yeah, until then, don't go back. We'll be right away. Sure.